Hi there, everyone. This is Darren with SimNation. Just doing a recap video for SNCFL, which is our Premier Draft Day Sports College Football 2026 League here at SimNation. As you can see, we just completed week 9. I do apologize for the delay. I've had some things going on in my life. This seems to be normal. But I just haven't been in the mood to create videos recently. So, um, at the end of the day, SNCFL is a great league if you want to join us. We have a lot of active coaches, very helpful coaches. There are people who do videos, just like a shout out to Tony, who's at SMU, Shark, who's at Georgia, and there are a couple others who do videos as well. I'm going to just dive right in and kind of talk about what's going on, and we'll look at this from conference to conference. But as you can see in the ACC, Clemson is essentially running away with the Atlantic. That makes sense. This is Matt. Matt is always going to be the guy. Boston College, who is my zero to hero team that I took over at the beginning of the season, is finally getting some traction. I finally figured out what works for them. They just, for want of a better word, I hate to trash my own team, but they're a crappy team. I think I'm beginning to understand them a little bit better, but you also have to be on my 2 wins against Syracuse and Louisville, who are pretty crappy teams too. Um, Over in the Coastal, it is pretty wide open right now. As you can see, you have Bama at Virginia Tech. You have Stuart at Duke. Duke is still probably going to be my favorite to win this division, but it's probably going a little bit harder than Stuart intended it to. Mostly just because there's a little bit more competition than what is normal. Um, but I still expect the championship game really to be probably Duke or Virginia Tech versus Clemson. Matt is the clear. He's clearly going to win the Atlantic at this point. Game this week, Duke at Virginia. This should be a pretty good game. I do like Stewart in this one, despite what the CPU says. I think he will get back on track relatively quick. Clemson is just going to obliterate Louisville. It won't even be close. Virginia Tech versus Boston College. This one will be intriguing, but I think Bama's going to beat me, candidly. Virginia Tech is a better team than Boston College. I'm having to do some really unnatural things to Boston College to get them to win, including changing my offense to an offense that I used at Washington State, where I just focused on the run. If we move over to the AAC, we've got some more human coaches in the AAC, which is always a good thing. Mostly just because anytime that you have more human coaches, the more competitive it definitely gets. You have Froggy, who's at Central Florida. Uh, Pretty rough beginning to his first season, but he'll get it right. Froggy's a pretty good coach, and I think Froggy is gonna do some pretty good things. Right now, East Carolina is the leader. Of course, if Temple can beat East Carolina, I think it'll throw it open. I don't see that happening. I think East Carolina, whose CPU is just going to basically walk all over them. Uh, in the West right now, Tony is emerging as the strong player there. 6-1. He's having a really good season. He does do streaming. I do actively encourage you to check out his stream. I'll check with him and see if I can put it inside mine. Tony does tutorials as well. Just a really good guy to follow. Um, Memphis, of course, is Van. Van is still in, I think, year 2 of his rebuild. And things are probably not going as well for Memphis as he would like. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get that back on track. I think he can. And we'll go from there. But right now, it's really posturing to be Southern SMU versus East Carolina. I don't really see Houston catching Tony. I think he should be able to get past them. He does a really good job week in and week out. Houston is a team, if you're interested in the AAC, I would say take, as is East Carolina. So be interested to see how that plays out. This week, Cincinnati versus Memphis. I think Van should win this one, unless, of course, the ghost of DWK comes into play with Cincinnati. East Carolina Temple. This is just a game of note. It's 2 CPUs. The Big 12 was trending towards being all Texas Tech sword, and everybody else was living in it. But then Texas Tech got beat by Kansas State because potentially they were looking too far to the future and just got crushed. Well, they didn't get crushed. They lost in like 3 overtimes. Texas is a CPU team. They have a good inside track, but the team to keep an eye on right now who likely will win this division is Oklahoma State. So this is Skeletor. West Virginia is doing better than they did last year. This is V Gorilla. I do expect him to continue to build off the success he has. Texas Tech is just going to try to rebound and get the wins that they need to get in order to stay in contention for the championship game. Um, Oklahoma State takes on Colorado. Skeletor will win this one easily. I do like West Virginia's chances against Oklahoma, even though the CPU doesn't. I think if E Gorilla can shut down that passing attack, he should be able to win this game relatively easy. Texas Tech takes on Nevada in an out-of-conference game. I like Texas Tech to bounce back on this one. They didn't sustain any injuries. It's just I got the defense completely wrong, unfortunately. Big Ten, all roads still lead through College Park with Maryland, but as you can see, you have Maryland, Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana all ranked. So Maryland is my team, Stuart's, Michigan is Stuart's, Indiana is Bama. It should be a really interesting dynamic that's really beginning to develop here. Garrick has Michigan State, and um, unfortunately for Garrick, he probably has one of the hardest schedules in the entire league. Not only having to play the Big Ten East and all of its powerhouses, but he had a pretty hard out of conference, and of course he's coming off a 30-6 loss to Maryland. Well, the defense did a really good job at Michigan State on slowing Maryland down. It's just unfortunately Maryland's defense did the same thing to Michigan State. Um, if we look to the West, you're beginning to see Kev start to really dominate at Iowa, which is kind of what I expected to see. Kev is a really good coach, and it's good to see him starting to get his feet under him. Of course, I probably just jinxed him, so I'm sorry, Kev. But right now, the really big contenders for the Big East, Big Ten East is Maryland and Michigan. Keep an eye on Indiana, though, because Bama is a really good coach. If Bama can get the upset against Maryland, he's right back in the race. Of course, you got Iowa versus Michigan. So this is Stuart at Michigan versus Kev at Iowa. This will be a really good game. I don't expect Ohio State to sustain it. So if you're an Ohio State fan and you want to come into the league, uh, they had a really good coach in Shark for a while, and he had rebuilt them. But definitely a good team to take. And of course, you see from the offensive leaders, Michigan is showing up really well. And you see a bunch of M's for recruiting between Michigan and Maryland. They are kind of dominating the recruiting. In Conference USA, again, this one will be a little bit interesting to see how it plays out. North Texas is kind of right where I thought that they would be at this point, winning 5 in a row, generally doing really well. Western Kentucky should challenge them. It'll be between these two teams. And then really it's going to be Florida Atlantic versus Old Dominion right now. I'm sorry, Florida International versus Old Dominion. Be interesting to see how that plays out. I still like Florida International and I like North Texas, but we'll see how it all plays out. This is also a good conference to join if you want to join a conference and make an immediate impact. These teams are pretty much all CPU. Skip over Independence. Now, in the MAC, a lot of the human coaches have left the MAC. We do have a new coach who just took over a program in the MAC in Curtis. He took my old Zero to Hero team in Buffalo. See how he does. But what you're seeing in the MAC is Western Michigan still is kind of the team to beat. Northern Illinois is pushing them though. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the season. But keep an eye on Western Michigan and Northern Illinois. Those are the two teams to beat. And then Ohio, I think, is going to run away unless Curtis can come in with immediate effect and start winning those games. He's off this week, so I'm not going to go into those games. Out in the Mountain West, again, it's still Colorado State and Boise State. Everyone else lives in the ward. V Gorilla has Wyoming, and he's done a really good job with getting Wyoming back on track. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. TCU and San Jose State are the two teams to watch in the rest. I still like TCU over San Jose State. Still like Boise State over Colorado State, but it'll be interesting to see which one of them wins. Of course, Wyoming gets Colorado State this week. I do think that V Gorilla will win this one, but it's going to be close. And we talked about Texas Tech, but I would love to see V Gorilla get on a winning streak and these two get on losing streaks so that way he can continue to build out his program at Wyoming. Out in the Pac-12, the North is still Bama's. Everybody else just lives around Bama. I do expect him to beat Oregon this week pretty handily and go ahead and really move towards locking up that North title. UCLA is Stuart. Stuart is still having a great season. USC is Van. Arizona State is me. UCLA maybe had a little bit of a setback early on the year, but they've been strong in conference play, and I don't expect them to not win the South. So it'll be probably Cal and UCLA like usual. Van is still getting his team into place at USC. And then Arizona State, which is my other zero to hero team that I started at the beginning of the year, had a really strong start to the season. They're struggling right now. Don't expect them to really do good. They need the bye because they get UCLA next week. See, UCLA is just recruiting like mad, really getting a lot of 5 stars. There's not really a strong Western school to counter Stuart. So he's doing a really good job. I may take Washington State back at some point just to kind of try to give him a counter. But great job out there, Stuart. In the SEC, the West right now is Auburn. That's Invisible Witness. He's having a really good season. LSU's doing okay. Louisiana Monroe, that's schedule. He should be really able to get his feet set and get moving. Alabama is DWK. He's having a pretty good season as well. But all roads right now lead through Auburn with Invisible Witness, #1 team in the nation. He's not showing any signs of slowing down. A little bit of a shock to see Kentucky, who is my zero hero team that I took over in the offseason, at leading the division, still undefeated, along with Missouri, who kind of shocked Georgia. But the roads still lead through Athens, and then you have Starfinder and Udo, who are struggling a little bit. But I do expect Shark to win this division. Kentucky can't compete with Georgia. If you look at this week's games, Auburn should easily beat Ole Miss. Louisiana Monroe should easily beat South Carolina. Florida, Alabama, Starfinder versus DWK. That's going to be a good game. I think Bama wins it, but it's going to be really close. Kentucky should beat LSU. They have to beat LSU if they're going to make the playoffs. But that should be a really good game. And Missouri should beat Vanderbilt pretty easily. You see here, Arias, the running back, is having a really strong season. Miles Campbell's having a good season as well. And you can see that it's a little bit more distributed than other divisions, but Auburn, Georgia, and Louisiana Monroe are all having really strong recruiting cycles. Coastal Carolina is a CPU team, used to be coached by Shark. Louisiana Lafayette used to be coached by Invisible Witness. If you want to join the league and make a really quick impact, those are two teams in the Sun Belt that you could take. Both of them are really solid teams. Arkansas is Starfinder. Again, he's having a good season as well. From a Georgia State perspective, this is Stuart. He's got that team on a pretty good path now. So he's doing a really good job there. If we look at the league leaders, or look at the games this week that I haven't already talked about, I think really the big game for me this week is going to be the Duke versus Virginia game. But really, it's either Maryland, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan will all be games to watch because you have some really good teams going against each other. I like this game probably the most. Because it's Kev versus Stuart. They have a little bit of a rivalry already, but it should be fun to watch that one. And that's it for now with the recap video. Hopefully you like this, and if you're interested in joining, let us know, and links are in the video. Thanks.